Well, believe it or not, teenagers are getting in on the stock market. Thanks to a mobile app, they can invest, trade, and follow the market using custodial accounts.
Team Rising is back to weigh in. Roger Fisk, Democratic strategist, and Inez Stepman, senior policy analyst at the Independent Women's Forum. Inez, I want to talk to you about this. I have often complained, and I didn't learn a lot about it, as I wasn't brought up with this kind of financial education. I actually think it's a good thing that teens are actually paying attention to the stock market and can invest amounts of money to kind of start to understand how it works and maybe expand their viewpoint of just paper routes and actually how you can make real money and increase your own wealth beyond just jobs. I don't know. Do you have a particular opinion on this?
Look, like you, I think it's good for teenagers to learn financial literacy. I guess it depends how these accounts are implemented. Obviously, there are lots of things that we don't allow teenagers to do before the age of 18 for a reason. One of those things is going into a casino. Now, it's not exactly a casino, but unfortunately, we've seen in the last about decade that since 2008 and 9, especially, that sometimes it can operate as little more than a casino. So to me, it would depend on what kind of safeguards are in place. We definitely don't want 16-year-olds losing their entire savings and then, reacting to that in a way that a more mature adult might not. Okay. So.
Roger, what do you think? I mean, there has been this movement of kind of Wall Street and investment bankers and, hedge fund managers versus the people through Reddit and the Robinhood trading app. Do you think that this is part of that movement? What's your opinion here?
I was just thinking how odd it will be if we get to the point where there's the first kind of teen bailout or something like that, or some kind of legislation. Then maybe all those OK Boomer comments will be reconsidered. I agree with Inez in that, this is interesting. It's, the gamification of the market is introduces some fascinating questions. As we can all imagine, I mean, risk perception for a 15 and 16-year-old is much different than for older folks. Also, just kind of the sense of elasticity and permanence and omniscience and things like that. So it'll be really interesting to see kind of the trends that come from this. The flip side of it, as always, and it's similar to like when we talk about tech or apps in general, on the developer side, there's people that obviously want to roll up their sleeves and get at some 15 and 16-year-olds, right? So there is a predatory kind of component. This isn't just, a benign civic tool that people want to give people so they, can start to, follow how money works and things like that. So I think like everything else, it needs supervision. And it needs, some clear laws and things like that. It also introduces really interesting questions about contracts and all that, because like, to what extent are these kids getting into situations where they're obligating themselves to certain things? Because every time you click one of those boxes that say, I agree to these terms and conditions, you're agreeing to those terms and conditions. So what does that mean in terms of people's ability to turn around and sell their data and things like that?
And we all know that parents are terrible. My friends with kids are terrible at overseeing what their kids are doing on their phones, and because the kids run way around the parents.
It's nearly impossible.
There's custodial accounts.
Sure,
there's zero chance the parent. Obviously, the parents have given them money to do this, unless, as you said, they sold paper routes and they're using that money. I doubt it. But it's very concerning about how much Silicon Valley is reaching out to kids. They've already on these social media accounts. I tell my friends all the time, because I follow my friends' kids on Snapchat or TikTok, whatever.
You're the tattletale. You're telling on them.
Of course I am.
You're telling on them.
Because we have to be. Like with these kids, as you said, Roger, they don't have the awareness. They have this, their brains are not formatted yet.
And both Roger and Inez, you bring up excellent points. And what I will be very interested to see, and what we should all take a look at here, is look, more purchases in the market drives the market higher. Right? So where are the regulations going to come in? Because the market certainly, hedge fund managers and other people in the market certainly just want the market to continually move up. Well, mostly, right? Like in the end, we all do. But are they going to be for regulations that protect, quote unquote, these minors while they engage in these market activities? And I think it's a really interesting thing that we're going to have to address as we move forward here, as this merging of the financial world and the tech world come together, and there's easy access to it regardless of your age into, actually
Inez,
playing with real money.
So Inez, to go back to you. Tell us, what do you, all this, your thoughts?
Sure. I think one thing I'd be interested to know is whether they're making if they're making a margin or I'm not a stock trader whatsoever. I am a complete financial novice, but I'd be very interested to know if the corporations are actually making money off of the trades that these teenagers are doing with these custodial accounts. I do think this has something to do with the Robinhood flap and all of that. Obviously, there are a lot of those people are young. They may not be teenagers, but they're young, and I kind of think, and this is again, I don't know much about finance, but it's pretty clear that a lot of people who are on that app did not realize that they were the product, right? Like with so many of these social media corporations, they thought that these apps were making money on their trades. They knew they were paying a couple cents a trade or whatever it was, but they didn't realize that the primary way in which Robinhood makes money is by selling information about those trades that they are making to large hedge funds. So that's why I say I would want to know how these custodial accounts, what kind of safeguards were on them, because honestly, even for adults, a lot of these kinds of trading apps and companies do not have to be transparent with their customer about who or what the product actually is.
Well, here's what I would say. I remember being a kid, and we probably all played the Monopoly game, right? And I was frustrated that we couldn't play with real money. So now, in some senses, people are able to play this kind of game with real money, and how that's going to end, I think we're just going to have to wait and see. But hopefully, they regulate and protect the children.
It may be all Monopoly money now.
Exactly.
That's right. Well, thank you both so much for being here. This is a really interesting conversation. And journalist Zed Jalani joins us when Rising returns.